Okay. So the rest of your packet is about your phenomenon and these pages. Okay. So I'm going to give you examples as if you were doing yeast, which you're not. And then you will stop after each part and enter what you can about yours. Okay. And then there will be some more to work with. So the first page on page 11 is about move. We'll have a page where we're planning our writing and then where we write. Okay, these pages will be part of your project grade. Okay, so is there evidence of moving? Well, when we look at yeast dry, there isn't much evidence of moving, right? When we mix it with sugar and water, we kind of get some movement, but I can't tell, is that bubbles or is that the yeast moving? It isn't until we look at it under a microscope that we really can start to answer these questions. And that may be true for yours as well. So, is the yeast under the microscope moving? Yeah, it's like jiggling back and forth, right? And we can see it moving towards the sugar. We've looked at this, we've talked about this, right? So, we can say it's moving. Okay, we have a pretty good idea that it's moving. Okay, here's how we answer those questions. You can do the same thing for yours. I guess we're going to keep watching it. um, it's also moving here. When we zoom in more, this is a higher magnification. When we zoom in more, we can see it's kind of getting longer. Okay, we're going to talk more about this later. Okay, but that's what we can see. So is there any evidence of moving? I would say yes, they wiggle and move to the sugar. Is there evidence of energy? Well, yes, because they move on their own. That's what the energy means, right? Unless you see a hand mixing it or something else moving it, you're going to say yes, there's energy. If they're moving on their own, it's energy. That's what that question has to do. Where is the energy coming from? Where did we think the energy was coming from? We thought it was coming from the sugar. This cells question, because we're going to ask, is there any evidence of cells? If yes, which organelles help the cell to move? Right. You're going to ask this of your phenomenon too, because if it's cells, then it's definitely alive. And even if you're not sure if it's moving, you can say maybe a cell membrane, maybe a nucleus. Okay. This is what we say for this one. Are they helping it to move? Well, if it's cells, so this might be a cell of course it did, but this might be a cell membrane. Maybe one of these is a nucleus, right? That's the kind of thinking you're going to do about this, okay? So then in our packet, this is our planning to write this, okay? Um, what I want you to do is write your observations about what you see and whether you think it's living or not. So we're going through the characteristics. This is move, okay? Write 2 to 3 sentences and answer the question, does your phenomenon move? Use your notes on the previous page, right? So I've written something, yeast does move. You're going to take yours and say, your phenomenon does or does not move. And then why? Because based on your observations. Okay? Because under a microscope, I saw yeast wiggling back and forth. So this means it can move. Notice that sentence structure. I saw, so this means. Also, the yeast looks like cells because I saw a thin line around the yeast, the I saw, which means it has a cell membrane. Also, I saw it move on its own, which means it gets energy from the sugar and mitochondria. That's my 3 sentences, and I've used all of these words. These mitochondria, like this, the cells in the mitochondria, the organelles, are really above and beyond. That's like if you want an A, you're writing that, right? But that's what you're doing. You may not in yours be sure whether it's cells, but you can write what you think. Okay? So again, I've taken this and wrote it here. I don't have to write everything here, but I'm using these sentence frames and I'm trying to include all these vocabulary words. Can be a mouthful. So now grow. Is there evidence of growth? Is there evidence of energy? Notice these are the same kind of questions, but now we're thinking about grow. Where is the matter coming from? Nutrition or something is being added to it. Like if it's growing, how is it growing? Is there evidence of cells? If yes, which organelles? They're always going to ask, is there evidence of cells? Because if there's evidence of cells, if you've gone through all 7 characteristics and you say there's evidence of cells, your main point is, yeah, it's cells. So it does all of these 7 things. Okay. So is there evidence of growth? Well, here's my moving. This is when I get to this. Is there evidence of growth? Well, I see more and more of these little parts coming, and this is getting longer and longer. Right? So I would definitely say there's evidence of growth. Yes, the yeast keeps getting longer and having more little parts, those little parts that were pouring into it. Right? We had to go to a deeper magnification to see that. Is there evidence of energy? It's okay to repeat what you saw from the last one. Yes, the sugar. We're studying yeast for this whole thing. You're going to be studying your phenomena for the whole thing. Where is the matter coming from? It's coming from the sugar, and it keeps making more of themselves. It's not like somebody. It's not man-made, right? It's under a microscope. It seems to be multiplying by itself. Is there any evidence of cells? If yes, which organelles help with growth? Yes, the thin outline is the cell membrane. Little dots are organelles, which keeps making more, right? You might be able to say like ribosomes help build, but that's really an above and beyond. Because I see ribosomes here, I've added it, but those organelle parts are really a kind of, I'm reaching for an A. Yeast does not grow because I saw it, does grow because I saw it get longer and longer under the microscope. So this means it's gross. Notice, I saw, so this means. The yeast also keeps making more of themselves in the little parts, so this means the ribosomes are making more organelles when the nucleus tells them to. That's my kind of above and beyond using the organelles. But what you must do is the I saw. Okay, it might be something you saw in a picture. It might be something you saw in your lifetime, right? Or it might be something you saw in a video. Okay. Again, so you stop and fill out yours for grow. There might be empty parts here. Okay, you might have to go and do some research and come back. But that's grow. Reproduce. Let's go. Let's look at this same video. What am I seeing? I'm seeing these little things pouring dots, and the dots seem to be making more. Like this white stuff wasn't there before, and now it is. And they're definitely getting longer and longer. Like this is getting a lot bigger. I'm also noticing this is closing in. Okay, so I'm noticing they're kind of making more of these little parts. And then in this bigger part, I got some here, right? That's the end. Oops. If I go back to here, remember when there were little parts? These are just different magnifications. And now there's a lot. So there's definitely evidence of reproducing, right? And this should say, is there evidence of reproducing? I don't know why it says growth because I made a mistake, right? So in yours, you can cross this out and write reproduce. Yes, the yeast gets longer than splits, right? And also the evidence, they just keep getting more and more and more. Is there evidence of energy? Notice the same questions. Yes, the yeast eats the sugar and grows and makes more. How are more made? One yeast pours little dots into another yeast. Okay, that was in the magnification here, right? That seems to be how they're making more. Let me see. See? Little dots pouring into the other one. Is there any evidence of cells? This is our above and beyond. Yes, the yeast makes more little dots, which means they are reproducing and making more organelles. Okay. When I go to write my sentence, this ribosomes is going to be an extra, but I'm still thinking about cells. Okay. The yeast cell do reproduce because it makes more. Okay. Here again, the I saw, this means I saw the yeast pour little parts into the new yeast. This means that yeast reproduce. This means that yeast has cells, which means it has ribosomes and a nucleus. Okay. Notice I have two. This means that. That's okay. You can build off your observations. Okay. Respiration. Is there evidence of respiration? This is where it's tricky. Where am I going? Um, this is a new video. Okay. Okay. And this is yeast and sugar under a microscope. Okay. Just saw a little bit of it, but yeast and sugar under a microscope. What's happening here? What do you think's filling that up? I've got lots of little things, right? What do you think's filling that up? And then, after more and more time, what do you think these are? They look like bubbles. What are bubbles filled with? Bubbles are filled with gas or air. Oops. Okay. So, is there evidence of respiration exchanging gas? The bubbles are getting bigger, right? So bubbles hold gas. So gas is entering when the bubbles get bigger. Does this mean there's cells? Well, if yes, it could be the vacuole that's holding the gas. But what this is, because these are the yeast cells, this is just it's releasing carbon dioxide. Now, you can also think about, and when I do the writing, I write this. Remember when we saw the yeast and the sugar multiplying and creating bubbles and expanding? Yeast has evidence of respiration because there's a large bubble that keeps growing, so this means gas is expanding. Okay. Also, I saw bubbles form when yeast was mixed with sugar, so this means gas is leaving. Okay, I've used two different things here. You're going to look for evidence of respiration in yours. You may not find it, but you're looking for it. Okay. Next is sensitivity. Okay. We've done this before, and actually even in this video, the yeast moving towards the sugar is sensitivity in this case. Is there evidence of sensitivity? Yes, the yeast moves towards the sugar. Is there evidence of sensing or responding to something else? No, just the sugar, right? Is there evidence of cells? Yes, there are cells. Again, I'm repeating a lot of this, but I'm going through it for each characteristic. And if in each characteristic I'm saying, yes, there are cells, that's a good clue to me that there are cells. The cell membrane helps with sensitivity because it lets things in and out of the cell. Okay, that's I observed that there's a cell membrane and a nucleus, I think. And if there is, then they're definitely doing all 7 of these. That's the argument we're making. Yeast does have sensitivity because I saw the yeast move towards the sugar, which means it has sensitivity. Notice I saw, which means the yeast looks like cells because I saw a thin line around the yeast, so this means it has a cell membrane to help with sensitivity. Again, this is a lot of what I wrote before, but it's still true. Okay. And finally, eliminates waste. This with a lot of things is tricky. And I'm going to show you a video of me taking Bartholomew Blue. Okay. This is yeast and this is Bartholomew Blue and water. Bartholomew Blue reacts with carbon dioxide. What happens? It turns yellow. Here I am saying in and out. Okay. I might do this in class, but I'm blowing into the Bartholomew Blue. What's coming out of my mouth? Carbon dioxide. Right? And as I blow in, watch what happens. It turns yellow. Why? Because Bartholomew Blue turns yellow in the presence of carbon dioxide. It's a carbon dioxide indicator. Okay? So that one is just to show you, and you may have to go to other things. Now, here's the second one. Kind of get right. Now I'm going to set up the yeast and sugar and water with the Bartholomew Blue. And when I set that up, this I'm going to skip through. When I do it, it's turning blue. It was blue. It's starting to turn yellow. Okay. And as it goes on, it takes a long time, even in a video. As it goes on, it gets more and more like this color. What does that tell us? I saw the Bartholomew Blue turn yellow. So that means it has carbon dioxide. Okay, that was my evidence. Yes, the yeast is making carbon dioxide. I saw the Berthamel blue turn yellow, which means it's eliminating carbon dioxide, which is waste. There's a gas bubble. Is there any evidence? So yes, the vacuole can hold waste in the cell membrane. It releases from the cell. That's a lot. No. Okay. So what does that mean? Yeast does eliminate waste because I saw the gas turn the Berthamel blue to yellow. So that means the yeast is eliminating carbon dioxide. Okay. So notice, even for the yeast, I had to go to different pieces of evidence. You are probably going to do that. But in this video, I want you to fill out whatever you can, whatever you know. Your observations can be about things you've observed, but you are also going to want to look for videos and the resources and things like that. But today, just fill out what you can. There may be blank ones, right? But fill out what you can for this, and then we'll go back and fill in what you find, research for what you still need. Okay? Good luck. Have fun.